Magandang hapon. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles and I'm doing this for Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan on Facebook. I didn't announce any live actually. I was just thinking about some of the things that are part of what we call the national discussion. No? Ang pinag-uusapan ngayon ay yung speakership, yung sa Facebook, and of course, itong mga communist insurgency, and yung links nila with their, what do you call them, above ground or legal fronts nila. So let's start with the speakership. Hindi ako, I don't think we're on anybody's side here, whether it is Speaker Alan currently or soon-to-be Speaker Lord Alan. But let's get rid lang of some of the misconceptions. Kailangan ihiwalay natin yung what do you call this? The facts from the press release. Okay? kasi ang it contributes to the noise. You don't really want people to be able to manipulate your opinion by giving you false news or false things, di ba? So, halimbawa, saan nanggaling yung hanash or yung press release that soon-to-be Speaker Lord Alan Velasco is going to grant a franchise to ABS-CBN? Is there evidence of this anywhere? Ang naririnig natin, and which is a distinct possibility, is with the new speaker, pwedeng magbago din yung mga heads ng committees. Ngayon, we have favorite committee heads. Ako, I will make no secret about the fact na believe talaga ako at the way Mike Defensor handled the House hearings. Maganda siyang presiding officer. And he was fair. Okay? And at the same time, he had an eye to what the public wanted to hear and was listening to, while at the same time, trying to be as factual and as objective as possible. So, hindi sikreto yan. Believe tayo kay Mike. Believe din tayo kay Congressman Marcoleta for ang sinop niya dun sa pagre-research, paghahanap ng mga dokumento. Yan. Of course, si Congressman Alvarez as well, Congressman Barsaga, and of course, Congressman Remulla. Diba? So, itong mga to, napapabilib tayo. And para pag naririnig natin na baka matanggalan sila ng pwesto or ng posisyon, like Congressman Marcoleta is a deputy speaker, diba? So, and then of course, Congressman Mike is the head of the Committee on Good Governance, and of course, Congressman Alvarez, and everybody. We don't want them to suffer from the change in leadership, di ba? Hindi naman natin gustong mangyari yon. Pero, let's not confuse the two things. Na just because mapapalitan yung mga committee heads doesn't necessarily mean na mabibigyan ng prangkisa ang ABS-CBN. First, they have to apply. Diba? They have to indicate to the committee na kailangan na they want to apply again and be granted a franchise. And again, they could be put through the ringer and asked, wait, has anything changed since the last hearings? Nagbago na ba yung ginawa ninyo in the past? Na-rectify nyo na ba? Because if there has been no action on the part of ABS-CBN, wala naman silang ginagawa in the period in between, how will the congressmen who want to grant a franchise be able to justify giving it after such a short period since the last hearing? So, let's not be ruled by sabi-sabi, 'di ba? Yung chismis na babalik ang franchise ng ABS-CBN pag si Lord Alan ang umupo. Okay? Let's not also pat Speaker Alan on the back too much for the fact na hindi nabigyan ng franchise ang ABS-CBN kasi nung umpisa, he made no secret of the fact that he wanted to give a provisional permit to operate. Diba? Gusto niyang bigyan ng provisional permit to operate kasi kahit hindi na i-discuss ng Kongreso yung pagbibigay ng prangkisa, kahit suspindihin ng indefinitely, tuloy-tuloy ang pagbo-broadcast ng ABS-CBN. Isn't that a little insidious? Kung ang daming worried tungkol sa ABS-CBN, then we should have been really worried at the time that Congressman Alan, Speaker Alan, was trying to railroad the provisional permit to operate. Diba? Nag-ano pa siya? Committee on the whole? Kasi nga, problematic yata kung magbubutuhan pa dun sa sa committee. So yun yung issues that we want to clear up. On the other hand, it is remember, let's not forget to give credit to Congressman Pulong Duterte. Kung sa tingin niyo ito sa big achievement na hindi mabigyan ng prangkisa ang ABS-CBN, huwag naman nating kakalimutan na si Congressman Pulong, now you saw my sofa. Si Congressman Pulong po ang nag-file ng resolution para maimbestigahan ang ABS-CBN at yun nga naglabasan yung mga kongresista. So let's just be factual pag dinidiscuss natin to. Again, wala naman tayong masamang tinapay pagdating kay Congressman Alan, kay Speaker Alan. But at the same time, we can't help it. Siyempre, teka muna, I haven't forgotten na you tried to railroad the provisional permit to operate. So kung gagawin nating issue ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN, we may as well take these things into consideration. To be fair also, it is under the speakership of Congressman Alan Peter that we can see the achievements of the House. Anong mga achievements to? To be fair pati si Congressman Alvarez, pati si Congressman Gloria Arroyo, and now Congressman Alan, kung ano yung kailangan ni Presidente, parating nabibigay. 'Di ba? Sa Kongreso wala tayong problema. And we have to give it to all of these three. Si Pantaleon Alvarez, Gloria Arroyo, and Speaker Alan Cayetano, they all were able to deliver for the President. Diba? So we have to give them that also. Tama ba yung criticism kay Lord Alan Velasco na he has not shown any leadership? I think valid naman yung criticism na yun. Ang sinasabi ni future Speaker Lord Alan ay kaya daw siya hindi masyadong kumikibo ay para magbigay respeto dahil nakaupo pa nga si Speaker Alan. At magiging pangit naman kung umaariba na siya tapos andyan pa si Speaker Alan. Speaker Alan might take it against him na bakit nagpapasiklab ka? Bakit ka nagpapabida? Saka ka na magpabida pag speaker ka na. Pwedeng ganon, di ba? So, at least, yun ang sinasabi ni future Speaker Lord Alan Velasco na baka ma-interpret na offensive yung kanyang pagpapasiklab. Para sa akin, there's never a bad time to show leadership, never a bad time to have some accomplishments. So, it would have been nice if as the head of the Committee on Energy, ay siya yung namuno dun sa pagtatanong tungkol dito sa Meralco. Bakit na-overbill tayo? Why did it take the Committee on Good Governance and the Committee on Franchises na mag-hold pa ng hearing para dito sa ating kuryente? Diba? In-explain nga ni Kong Mike, hindi kami naghihiring dun sa tubig because the President has taken cognizance of the issue. On the other hand, they have taken cognizance of the Meralco issue. And again, I would like to ask Congressman Lord Alan, na sana it would have not been out of bounds kung ikaw mismo ang nag-hold ng hearing dun sa Committee on Energy tungkol dito sa pagpapataas or pag-overbill ng ating ng ating kuryente. And come on, it's not just overbilling. Hindi ba oras na rin na dapat eksaminin natin yung EPIRA? Hindi naman nakatulong sa atin sa tinagal-tagal ng batas na yan. Anong naitulong niyan sa akin? Mataas pa rin ang kuryente, one of the highest in Asia, hindi ganun kaganda ang serbisyo, and it's still a virtual monopoly. It would have been an opportunity para dito kay Kong Lord Alan to have shown leadership and to have given us a preview of what his speakership was going to be. Kaso, tumahimik siya. And so yes, valid naman yung criticism na ganon. Tingin ko valid yung criticism na sabihin na na anong naipakita mo? Bakit, you have been congressman for how long? And we would have wanted to see, and the public would have been confident na tama ang desisyon ni Pangulo, tama yung pagkikilatis ni Inday Sara, who heartily endorsed Congressman Lord Alan, na, kumbaga, we want to know what they know. Kung bakit nai-endorso sila, kung bakit ina-uphold ni Pangulo itong gentleman's agreement. We want to know why Lord Alan, not just over Alan Peter Cayetano, pero ako, personally, dun sa pagpapakita ng Big Five, all of them, they're very good at being presiding officers. Well, Kong Mike was very good at being presiding officer. Even Congressman Remulla, Congressman Alvarez, they all showed very good leadership during the course of the hearings. So, hindi nagkukulang sa mga galing na leaders dito sa Kongreso. And so, gusto kong malaman kung bakit sa tingin ni na Inday Sara, ni Presidente, maaaring maging speaker itong si Congressman Lord Alan. Gayon pa man, for the moment, pag siya nga ang naging speaker at siya nakaupo, we're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Pero, di ba, we will be watching him very, very closely. Checkin ko lang yung mga comments on this issue bago tayo lumayo. Okay. Alright. So, yun lang. Kumbaga, we can discuss it all we want and we can of course take sides. That's what advocacy is about. That's what politics is about. We can of course take sides. Pero when we discuss, let's think about it critically. Huwag yung nagpapadala tayo dun sa emotionalism. Halimbawa, very emotional talaga yung issue ng ABS-CBN. Kami pa naman, di ba, halos inaraw-araw namin yung pagpo-post, pag-analyze, inaral namin yung mga batas. Tapos, ayun, di ba, ganyan na lang, magdi-discuss tayo base dun sa mga press releases, magdi-discuss tayo dahil tayo'y nalinlang ng mga supporters of one or other side. Huwag naman ganun. Sayang yung issue. Sayang yung pagkakataon na maliwanagan tayo dun sa mga pangyayari. At check ko yung mga comments ninyo ang daming nagsasabi na malinaw naman ang audio. Oy, maraming salamat. Nilapit ko na yung mic para dun sa mga nahihinaan. Dun sa nagtatanong kung wala akong tanong tumakbo sa Senado. Ang saya-saya natin dito, di ba? Bakit tayo tatakbo? Makikigulo pa tayo dun. Paano yung gentleman's agreement nila? Tinatanong ni Renato Peñalosa. Well, yun nga, pinapa-uphold ni Pangulo. Yun ang lumabas sa balita ngayon. But it remains to be seen, Marami pang pwedeng mangyari. Remember, ang pagbaba ni Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, October 14 pa po. So, let's see. Diba? Maraming nagsasabi na this is about word of honor, this is about a gentleman's agreement. Tama rin naman kayo at nakikita ko naman na valid yung ganyang argumento and the President also sees it that way. Diba? Nakikita niya yung ganon. Oo, kasi naman dinamay-damay pa ang Presidente. The President had to step in between in the speakership fight and he settled the matter sa harap niya. Parang it's really nakakabastos kung hindi susunod. So, nakita niyo yung picture ni Speaker Cayetano, parang nakaganan siya. I hope that's not indicative na feeling niya na pagalitan siya. Pero certainly, parang ang sasabihin ng Presidente, kung ako siya, I would have said something like, bakit nag-abala pa kayo? Bakit dinamay-damay niyo pa ako dun sa unang kasunduan, hindi naman pala kayo susunod? Diba? Babago-baguhin nyo na lang just like that. So, I think that's also a valid point of view. Sabi ni Marlon, Alan Peter should step down on the agreed date, then put to a vote if the congressman would want Lord Alan to be the next speaker. Yun na nga yung sinasabi ng presidente, bakit nyo pa kinausap? Kung hindi nyo naman susundan, kung hindi ka mag-give way, kung you'll still put it to a vote, tapos manggagapang ka dun sa mga boto, di ba? Okay. Ano yung next topic natin? Facebook. Okay. Sige, marami rin mga issues tungkol dito sa Facebook, no? Liwanagin lang natin. Liwanagin natin, need natin ng isang diretso sa batas. Sabi ni Yingli, ay, maraming magagaling na abogado po. Like, if Congressman Marcoleta runs for the Senate, I'm sure you're all going to vote for him. So, ayan, madadagdagan yung magagaling na abogado dyan sa Senado. Ngayon, what about this issue of Facebook? O, ano na yan? Okay, first, ano ba ang coordinated inauthentic behavior? Ayon dun sa mismong post ng Facebook, at ito, tinignan ko talaga, no? Binasa ko talaga yung post ng Head of Security ng Facebook para makita ano ba itong coordinated inauthentic behavior at saka anong nangyari dito. Well, hanapin natin yung ano. Hanapin natin. Sinave ko yun. Naghanap pa talaga ang lola nyo. Okay. Coordinated, ibig sabihin may kasunduan between several people. Inauthentic, meaning you're trying to mislead people. Now, you can be misleading people in thinking that you're popular, diba? Na maraming nakikinig sa'yo. No, yung pala, sa'yo rin pala lahat ng accounts. That's one kind of inauthentic behavior na binabawal ng Facebook. Pinapalabas na you are somebody else when you're not who you are. So, that goes into fake accounts. Yung mga yan. So, coordinated means nag-usap-usap kayo para manlin lang ng ibang tao. So, pero the fact is, Facebook also punishes pagka natutunan mong gamitin yung sistema nila, yung sarili nilang algorithm para dumami ang followers, lumakas ang influence, maging mas how do you call this? Mas madali marinig yung boses. Okay, looking for the Facebook post. Dami dito yung sa corona, there it is. Ito. Sabi nun sa isang site that was studying this issue, all of the major platforms are loath to get drawn into taking political sides, but have insisted that their CIB-related rules are based on behavior, not content. So, ang sinasabi ng Facebook, hindi kami panig sa isang political party, hindi kami anti-Duterte, hindi kami anti-government or anything like that. Kasi wala kaming pakialam sa content. Ang pakialam nila is yung pagsasabwatan para mukhang maraming followers, samantalang puro fake accounts naman, bumibili ng mga fake accounts, ganon. Yun yung sinasabi nilang inauthentic na coordinated behavior. So, hindi ito tungkol daw, according to Facebook, hindi daw tungkol sa kung anong partido ang pinapanigan nila. Most online manipulation daw is, ito. Yung ang problema is that it's still very vague. Kasi sinasabi din naman at hindi naman sinisikreto ng Facebook that they don't want to be too specific about what is not allowed. Kasi daw, pag very specific sila, matututo ang mga taong gumagamit to do exactly that, pero makakahanap ng paraan to go around the rules. So, ito yung problema natin sa kanila. You don't want to tell us what the rules are, pero you expect us to obey. And the punishment is severe. Well, the taking down of accounts, masakit yun, di ba? For many of us, lalong-lalo na, yung mga organic, yung following, wala talagang daya, walang binibiling accounts, hindi nagpapaboost. Yung mga yan, they have a lot to lose kasi painstaking yung pag-acquire ng mga followers. Kumbaga, if these bloggers or microbloggers have any influence, it is because of pure hard work, naglalabas ng saloobin, pero making sure that factual yung mga sinasabi. And ako I don't mind when people are wrong, or even if I am wrong. What is important is you correct yourself when you are wrong. Hindi naman dapat ma-take down ang buong site mo. Kung kunwari, na-realize mo ay mali, o palitan mo. And Facebook, in fairness, doesn't do that. It's when you insist on a fact, on something, when you have already been warned that it is not factual. Okay? Ito. Sinasabi na, paano yung mga, anong coordinated ngayon na inauthentic behavior ang pwedeng ibawal ng Facebook? So, itong ginawa ng Facebook recently, supposedly AFP and PNP and yung hands off our children, supposedly inauthentic daw yung behavior nila. Kasi, they were making it look like that they had lots of followers. Hindi rin maliwanag ang Facebook dito. Were they posting fake news? Hindi rin tayo sure what that is. But what we are sure about is yung mga nagreklamo. Alam natin na nagreklamo yung mga makakaliwang organisasyon at mga kapanig ng mga ito. Alam natin na nagreklamo ang Rappler at ang ibang so-called NGOs or organizations na di umano yung nagre-reklamo na who felt that this is fake. Kumbaga, pero the complaint wasn't inauthentic behavior. Facebook lang ang nagsasabi niya. Ikaw, do you complain about coordinated inauthentic behavior? Diba? We didn't even know that rule until very recently, although Facebook has been applying it. Okay, sa TikTok, halimbawa, diba? Sa TikTok, in fairness, since it's run by China, kukunti lang talaga yung bawal doon. So, nagkaroon ng, sabi dun sa isang article, let's take the example of TikTok teens and K-pop fans. After poor attendance at President Donald Trump's campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 20, the internet was enamored with a story of how an Iowan grandmother had posted a TikTok video that led to a movement of young people were serving tickets for the rally to artificially inflate the expected number of people who were going to attend that rally. Tapos walang dumating. Diba? Hindi ba coordinated din yon at hindi ba inauthentic behavior din yon? Well, on TikTok, that's allowed. Sabi ng Facebook, hindi. That would not be considered coordinated inauthentic behavior kasi hindi naman daw fake yung accounts na ginamit sa TikTok. So wait, kailangan fake yung accounts. Bakit? Fake ba yung account ng hands of our children? Hindi naman. Diba? So, we're still just discussing the pros and cons. Now, under the law, take note kung ano yung hiningi ng presidente. Facebook, let's talk. Yun ang sinabi niya. So, there's probably going to be a meeting. Or probably, and there's also going to be a congressional hearing. Pero the president is not saying right off the bat, tanggalin na yung Facebook na yan. He hasn't said that right off the bat. He's not saying also na kasuhan yung mga yan. Kasi anong ikakaso natin? Diba? Ang pwedeng magkaso dyan are those people who have been damaged. And is the president saying the government has been damaged? He's not saying that either. But what he's saying is that bakit nyo kami tinatanggalan ng pagkakataon na gamitin itong plataforma na ito para isulong yung mga pangangailangan ng ating gobyerno? Hindi naman illegal ang ginagawa ng ating gobyerno. Sinusulong lang ang polisiya na galit tayo. Well, hindi na pwede itong CPP, NDF at NPA. Dahil nga naman, what they are doing is committing a crime. And nasa hukuman ngayon ang pagdedeklara ng mga ito bilang terrorist organizations. 'Di ba? So bakit naman pipigilan ng Facebook ang completely legal na behavior ng gobyerno para isulong ang mga legitimate na interest nito? Total, wala naman nakalagay sa Facebook rules yung sinasabi nila nung una na coordinated inauthentic behavior. 'Di ba? Ano pa? Sabi ni ngayon, sa US, nagpapatawag din sila sa Facebook at nayayanig din sila. Halimbawa, itong yung pagkabit ng kable terrestrially dito sa Pilipinas para makonect ang US mainland with the rest of Asia, including China, dadaan yan overland dito sa Pilipinas. Ngayon, Facebook has already been in talks, pumayag na yung gobyerno natin, and in return, Facebook is going to give us a certain amount of, internet use na libre para sa atin, and that belongs to the government. Natigil yon. At alam mo kung bakit natigil? Nasuspend naman, hindi naman siya permanenteng natigil, kasi merong mga pinagagawa, merong mga policy changes na hinihingi itong si Trump dito sa Facebook. At dahil doon, pinatigil muna ang kanilang proyekto, panandalian. So ngayon, alam natin na itutuloy, ang tanong na lang is kailan ito matutuloy. Tignan ko yung mga comments ha. Hindi ko masyado nakikita yung dun sa phone. So, hindi pa nakakahabol yung Facebook. So, Facebook is a private platform. So, hindi maaaring sabihan ng gobyerno na violation ng freedom of speech yung ginagawa ninyo. So, para sa akin this is not a freedom of speech issue. It cannot be a freedom of speech issue. It is an issue of fairness. Okay? Hindi to freedom of speech issue kasi the freedom of speech can be found in the Constitution. At nakalagay dito, no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or of the press. And so, if you're going to claim a right, you have to figure out who is that right claimed against. If there is a right, there is an obligation. Ang obligasyon dito ay sa gobyerno na hindi gagawa ng batas o patakaran o polisiya na makakapagpigil sa malayang pagpapahayag maliban lang dun sa mga nakasaad na sa ating batas. Halimbawa, Data Privacy Act, libel, false publications, anti-inciting to sedition laws, etc. Diba? So these are limitations by law on the freedom of speech. Pero if you look at the Constitution, the limitation is against the state. Meaning, hindi nakalagay sa Constitution natin that no person, public or private, can infringe the freedom of speech. Okay? So, yung ganon, that's why it's not a freedom of speech issue, it is an issue of fairness. Ngayon, dito sa Pilipinas, maaari nating questionin ang polisiya on two grounds. One, when we agreed to go into Facebook, we signed a contract. Meron niyang agreement. Now, since this is what we call a contract of adhesion, meaning hindi naman, wala tayong input dun sa kontrata na yan. Hindi tayo nag-negotiate with Facebook. Ihinain lang ng Facebook, ito yung mga obligations mo as a user of Facebook, and in return, we can use you as our audience, the audience for our ads. Okay? So, pwede kaming gumawa ng pera out of you kasi hindi naman kami sumisingil sa'yo for going onto our platform. Di ba? So, may contract. Ang tanong, is Facebook itself adhering to the contract? And is that contract in violation of Philippine law? Yan, dyan na tayo makakapasok. So, it's possibly not a freedom of speech issue, but a question of contractual obligation. Another, may prinsipyo dito sa Pilipinas na may batas man o wala, all persons are required to act with fairness and give everyone his due. Ngayon, what is our due? What is in the contract? Nothing in the contract says, for example, that we give up our copyright on anything. Or if it does say that, our Philippine law says otherwise. Hindi tayo basta-basta nagbibigay ng ating copyright. In order for it to be a valid giving out or selling of our copyright, it has to be in a written document. And it must be notarized. Diba? So, may mga ganyan. Oh, okay. Sabi ni Sir Manny Ramirez, he wants to send kape and tinapay. Naks, parang may lamay, ano? You can send us anything sa DWIZ, that's the 5th floor of City State Center, 709 Shaw Boulevard, Barangay Oranbo, Pasig City. You can just Google the station, DWIZ 882, and makikita nyo na po yung address niyan. So, nandun kami sa 5th floor, DWIZ, City State Center, yung pangalan ng building namin, and it's 709 Shaw Boulevard, Barangay Oranbo, Pasig City.
Nag-order sa akin, libre ang delivery sa Karambol.
Okay. May nag-order daw dun sa anak ko. Binabalita lang niya na may nag-order para sa karambola. So, pag nag-order daw sa kanya, tapos sa Mermaid Bakes, talaga may plugging. Pagka may order daw sa Mermaid Bakes, libre ang delivery to karambola. Nax! Lol. Okay. Okay. I-upload din po dun sa mga nagsasabing mag-YouTube tayo, i-upload din po ito sa YouTube later on. So, don't worry about that. May YouTube channel po ang Luminous. Okay? So, ulitin po natin ha, this is not a freedom of speech issue in the strictest sense, but an issue of basic fairness and perhaps of contract. Okay? So, pag nag-argue tayo ng ganyan, at least when we're making criticisms or commentary, at least may factual basis siya. Ngayon, tinanong ako kanina, ano naman ang ating komentaryo dun sa DDS, Quit Facebook Challenge ba yun? Ano yun? Ay, hindi yun?
Kung tunay kang DDS, delete mo Facebook mo challenge.
Ayan, kung tunay kang DDS, delete mo ang Facebook mo challenge.
Yun.
Ngayon, bakit walang pumapatol dyan? Because it's so transparent, we can see right through it. Unang-una, sino ba ang namamayagpag sa YouTube? Hindi ba yung mga pro-government commentarists or accounts? Diba? So, sa Twitter doon, namamayagpag yung kabilang parlor. Pangalawa, why will we delete our own account ahead of the talks the President wants to have with Facebook? Ano tingin ninyo sa amin? Syungak? Kayo lang yon na maggaganyan kayo na gimmick na paka-transparent naman, nang aasar lang kayo. Sorry, asar talo dito, hindi kami pikon. We can just simply ignore you because it's a stupid challenge. Diba? Is the President really threatening to close Facebook? Of course not. What did he say? Facebook, let's talk. Oh, threatening to close Facebook ba yan? Ano ba? Diba? But the truth is, I really don't think na mawawala ang Facebook dito sa Pilipinas, even if it might fall out of popularity, like what Friendster did. So, ang ginagawa namin is, tinitignan ko namin yung ibang mga social media accounts, at magpo-post rin tayo. If ever mangyari nga na mawala ang Facebook, we can always invade Twitter, but I don't like Twitter kasi ang limited ng pwede mong i-post. Gusto ko yung mga other social media accounts. We have VK, there's a Filipino one. I forgot its name, but I have one of those. May Miwi ako, but I just opened the accounts just in case we have to transfer, or it might be better if we transfer to another social media platform. Diba? So yung mga ganyan, wag tayong pikon kasi sa totoo lang, dito sa Giapatani, between the other parlor at saka tayo, asal talo lang yan. So kahit i-bash nila tayo, hindi nyo kailangan ako sumbukan we can just completely ignore them. Bakit? Mas maraming numbers natin. Alam nyo kung pinatol ko lahat ng nagbabash sa akin, edi ang dami sanang sumika. Bakit natin siskatin yung kabila? Why should it matter what they say about us, lalo-lalo na kung fake? Of course, we can always correct it. But we certainly have to correct pagka yung mga social issues, political issues. So yung mga hanas na ganyan na, better si Lord Alan than Alan Peter, better si Alan Peter than Lord Alan. Tapos titignan natin kung anong criteria, hindi naman enough na, magkakaroon ng ABS-CBN pag si Lord Alan ang nakaupo. Really? What's your proof of that? Let's do this with evidence and let's do it with logic. Para nakakatulong tayo sa bayan. Diba? Ang nagsasabi na ang product lang tayo doesn't understand the nature of nation building. Bahagi ng nation building yung nagkikriticize tayo, bahagi din yung namimigay tayo ng tamang impormasyon. Diba? Just because you cannot hold the thing that you are giving doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because information is intangible, but we give it out and it helps other people. Yeah? Para sa nagtatanong kung saan ako may mga account, post ko sa Luminous po niya. Big keys a big quiz. Yun. So maraming mga other social media platforms na maaari pa natin, palawakin, laganapin kung pa tayo doon. It's not going to be the end of the world just in case ma-regulate ang Facebook and they decide to pull out. Because I think that's what's more likely to happen. Excuse me. Not that the president will shut down Facebook, or not that the House will even create a law that will take Facebook out of our internet, but it's more likely that we will require them to do certain things like first, pay taxes, because they do earn revenue here in the Philippines, and they're not paying taxes. So, we can require them to pay taxes, we can require them to adhere to Philippine law, and if they don't like it, then they might themselves pull out. And if that should happen, fine. Ibablock nila sa Pilipinas ang Facebook, fine. There are other social media platforms. I'm not afraid of losing influence or anything like that. It's not a big deal. The fact is that we like talking to each other and we get something out of talking to each other, so there's really no difference if we do it on Facebook or on other platform. Diba? Okay. Naku, naglalag na yata yung internet. Napuputol na ba yung signal? Yan. No need na po i-shoutout daw. Yung iba. Para-paraan din kayo, no? Si Rodani Plaza. Yan. Okay. We'll slow down a little dahil yung ating signal parang kumukutik-kutitap. Kawayan natin ng PLDT kung kumukutitap na naman ang signal natin. Sorry. It's not Globe. I'm not on Globe. I'm on PLDT. Globe sucks also, yeah. Actually, we have 2 internet service providers in this house and they're both palpak. Diba? So, ano yung, we have one more issue, but I'd rather hear what issue you want to discuss before, instead of me choosing one pala. Okay, DDS challenge. DDS din ang nag-challenge, die hard Dilawan supporter, sabi ni Katlea. Yeah, I like that. Yun, ang request ko na lang is, while we're still on Facebook, don't forget to like and share Luminous, at saka like and share this video. We don't really want, kumbaga, pero if you want to stay on Facebook, for instance, yung hindi na yung yung walang kalaban-laban ba na matatanggal yung account mo, ganun. Let's stick to some of the easy to follow rules. Since Facebook says they don't care about content, but they do care about community standards. So ano yung bawal sa community standards nila? Bawal ang libel, obviously, kasi bawal din dito sa Pilipinas. So I don't suggest that anybody libels anybody. Diba? So what is libel? A malicious imputation of a crime, vice, or defect. Pero, for people who are public figures, it is harder to prove malice. In other words, talagang binibigyan tayo ng pang sa ating batas na mag-criticize kapag ikaw ay public figure. The reasoning being, well, you want to be famous, you take the good with the bad. Diba? Also, dapat naman, because you're famous, you can't ask people not to think ill of you. Because you're out there, you're subject to public scrutiny because you allowed yourself to be subject to public scrutiny. And so when people bash you, and sometimes the bashing is unfair, you have to determine at which point it crosses into libel and you are damaged. But if you don't feel that you have been damaged, Kebs, di ba? Mag-iingat rin tayo dun sa false information. So we have to be careful, ha? When you set something forth as a fact, you have to be careful with that. Kasi, bakit? Bakit dapat careful tayo? Kasi nga gustong ipalabas ng Rappler na kapag false ang information mo, you're a danger to society. Which isn't true, of course, because a lot of the times we get things wrong. We're human, after all. And sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we are misled. And we just repeat the things that we have heard and, in turn, mislead other people. It's a human failing, but is it necessarily so damaging? People have been making mistakes since there have been people. Diba? So, I disagree about things like fake news. As long as there are alternatives, people who can tell us what is fake and what is not. Diba? As long as there are sites, and the internet is so vast and so wide and has so much information, good, bad, real, unreal, truthful, and otherwise, that there is room for so much. Diba? Ayoko rin kasing nagpipigilan ng creativity ng ibang tao by telling them, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. That's the whole nature of the freedom of speech, is that we should be free to speak out. The problem is, Facebook nga is a private platform and we are subject to its own rules. But its rules, in turn, are subject or ought to be subject to Philippine law. But do we really want to take this to court? I don't. What I want to do is work out a way that we can all live with it. I don't mind being subjected to some rules as long as everybody is subjected to the same rules. Okay. Questions. Protest daw ni BBM. Any insights? Well, diniscuss po natin kanina sa Karambola na ni-report ko si Jomar Canlas na nagpa-comment na po si Justice Leonen tungkol dito sa third cause of action na bahagi ng motion ni BBM noong October 2019. Ngayon, nagbigay na po ng memorandum si panig ni Vice President Leni at saka panig ni BBM. Ngayon naman, sinasabi ni Jomar, suddenly, ang nire-require naman ngayon ni Justice Leonen ay ipakomento ang COMELEC at saka ang Solicitor General. At pwede rin pang magkomento yata further ang mga parties. So, I think the implication being that ba't mo pinatagal ng ganyan kung tapos komento lang pala? Sana kung ang iniisip ng mga tao kaya yan nagtatagal dahil gumagawa ka ng desisyon. So, I think this is subject to fair criticism. Bawal nga kasi yung di ba may rule against sub judice. So if we're going to discuss anything about this case, you have to stick to what is factual. So if you're going to say that Justice Marvic might not be fair, you have to be categorical na your basis for making that conclusion is this, this, and this. Justice Leonen is a public figure, pero we cannot also, ito yung tough part about the sub judice rule. The rule is that we have freedom of speech, pero we cannot discuss a case so that we are trying to convince the justices or the judges to go a certain way. That's the most simple explanation for it. But not every court will say that those of us who are not involved in the case can be subjected to the sub judice rule or are subject to the sub judice rule. Definitely, yung parties, bawal silang magsalita. Pero tayo, what about the public at large? Subject ba tayo dito? Some judges make that true na yung public, bawal din magkomento na unfair, ha? At saka yung parang kinoconvince natin yung mga justices. Or, others naman, dead ma. So, we'll have to play it by ear on this one. Fact checkers. Okay? Na-discuss po natin kanina sa Karambola yung mga fact checkers po ay na-accredit ng Pointer Institute. I think they attended a seminar or something like that. Tapos in-accredit siya ng Pointer Institute. And those who mahilig sa conspiracy theories, yes, that is another Soros Institute. Soros-funded institute. Which means connect the dots, nakatanggap din kay Soros ang Rappler, nakatanggap din daw ang Vera Files. Well, Vera files also received from the US and all of these other grants that might lead us to believe that meron silang pinapanigan. Tinatanong ni Ulysses Villa Gonzalo, bakit ngayon lang gumalaw si Justice Leon? Dahil ba kaya sa filing ni Attorney Gadon para hindi halata na may ginagawa sila? I think that it would be speculative. Wala tayong evidence either way. Pero alam natin na very recently, Justice Leonen was in the limelight kasi nga nag-file ng request si Attorney Gadon asking for copies of his SALN. Okay? So that has nothing to do with the ombudsman, ha? Hindi siya sa ombudsman humingi ng SALN. Sa Supreme Court, dininay na po ng ating hukuman. Kaya siya ng motion for reconsideration. Ito, sabi ni Jan Saleh, if the Makabayan bloc holds hostage the budget of some government departments, including the PCOO, can Congress do the same with the budgets of these representatives? No. General no. Parang automatic yung, what do you mean the budgets? Well, pwede naman silang hindi bigyan ng pork barrel, di ba? And that one, hindi maliwanag yung mechanism dyan eh. Technically, dapat lahat ng mga congressman meron ganun. But the allocation really is made by the speaker. So, anong ginawa ng Makabayan Bloc? They are holding hostage the budget of the PCOO. And the PCOO isn't just the PCOO. The budget of the PCOO includes RTVM, PTV4, ano po ba? RP1, RP2, yung mga yan. So, it's not fair. Kasi pagka hinostage mo yan, ang hostage mo talaga maraming mga ibang ahensya. That is very necessary, including the PIA. Andun yun. Andun yun sa budget na yun. What could happen is that they can hold only the PCOO's budget hostage. Tapos, I'm not sure kung pwedeng re-enacted budget lang for the PCOO or i-deny nila yung lahat ng hinihingi ng PCOO. But, malabo din yun eh. So, ang mangyayari niyan, the most logical thing that could happen is that the Makabayan Bloc will hold it off as long as it can, pero pag nag-decide na yung majority na ibigay na natin yung nandun sa DBM recommendation and pasahin na yung budget, wala rin magagawa ang Makabayan Bloc. In other words, PCOO can play a waiting game. Diba? Tinatanong ni Cheryl Pedrera, paano ba tanggalin yung party list? Unnecessary gastos ng gobyerno. You know what? I disagree with you. Unang-una, hindi pwedeng tanggalin yung basta-basta kasi nasa constitution natin. Nasa ating saligang batas yung party list system. The idea was, kasi alam natin, na pagdating sa pagiging representante, pera-pera yan. You need a lot of money. You need a lot of money to be able to be elected in a particular district as against other politicians. Fact of life. The party list system was supposed to make it easy so that the underrepresented groups, like the handicapped, senior citizens, youth, ano pa ba? Other, like we said, underrepresented sectors, IPs, they can be represented, they can have a representative be elected para na isusulong yung kanilang particular concerns. Kasi, pag pera-pera ang pagdating sa eleksyon, in all likelihood, the system works against all of these special interests. Sino bang mauunang interest? Yung mga malalaki. Why was ABS-CBN so successful in getting so many concessions from Congress before? Malaki sila, mayaman sila. They have money for lobbying efforts. Pero the handicap, the groups that are underrepresented and who are nevertheless very needy, like like what I mentioned, they don't get a say. Hindi nasusulong yung kanilang mga interest. So I think the party list system is actually a good thing. However, the way that COMELEC has been handling the accreditation, the way the COMELEC has been handling how we count the votes, has undermined the entire process. There are rumors na nagsasabi para ma-accredit lakaran yan daw sa COMELEC. Supposedly, when you talk about lakaran, supposedly may consideration din yan. Yun ang mga naririnig natin kung kaya't yung mga tunay na nangangailangan ng mga group hindi po nakakapasok at hindi tayo nare-represent ang mga interest nila sa Kongreso kasi nagiging pera-pera din doon na lang sa accreditation. Ngayon, sa bilangan din, sa number of representatives, minsan hindi natin alam ilan bang boto ang kailangan natin para makapagpaupo tayo ng isang representante. Nagbabago din ang rules ng COMELEC every so often to the point na iisipin mo, may pinapaboran ba ang COMELEC? Kaya bago sila ng mga rules. Those are the things that undermine the party list system. Para sa akin, mananawagan ako, huwag natin ibasura yung buong party list system because the purpose was so that people like you and me, yung mga boses na hindi naririnig, ay magkakaroon ng representante at maririnig kahit paano sa Kongreso. Besides, kahit magdaing tayo ng magdaing tungkol dyan sa sistema na yan, may batas. Merong provision sa ating saligang batas. And as long as these exist, there will be party lists. So there's no point saying, basura na yung party list na yan if we cannot change the Constitution and change the law. What we can do is ask that it be fairly executed para hindi about money ito. Para yung tunay na nangangailangan ng representasyon sa ating Kamara ang madidinig. See, that's how the left, that's how the Makabayan Bloc came about. Imbis na maghinaing sila tungkol dun sa party list system, ginamit nila, inaral nila, ilan bang boto ang kailangan dito? O sige, i-consolidate natin yung mga suporta natin dito. Doon tayo sa mga maliliit na munisipyo, kausapin natin, madali mag-organize doon, madali magpa-block voting. Doon tayo sa malalaking slum areas na hindi napapasukan ng mga politiko, hindi magkaka-vote buying doon. Doon pwede tayong makapasok. Dahil sa ganitong pagsisipag nila, nakakuha sila ng significant number ng mga representante, kaya nagkaroon sila ng Makabayan Bloc. So, they were able to use the law. Diba, what is better, to curse the darkness or light a candle? Light a candle. Do something about it. Daing ka ng daing. Dapat wala ng party list. Minumura natin yung mga party list. Pero andyan pa rin sila. May nagawa ba yung pagdadaing nyo? Wala. Instead, use it. Diba? What do? We talk to our congressmen. Or we can enact a different law using the write-in system. Yung sinasabi nilang gagamitin ng ABS-CBN, yung People's Initiative, why don't we use that? If you really want a more equitable party list system and want to change the law, tayo nasa kamay natin. However, kailangan din siya ng pera kasi ang laki ng mobilization na kailangan niya. What do we need to do? Change that law. The enacting legislation of the People's Initiative. Ang laki ng mga nire-require ng ating mga kongresista na number of votes para matalo yung kanilang legislative powers. Diba? So, yun ang dapat trabahuhin. Identify where the law goes wrong and we will change those laws. Okay? Sabi nung naka-Korean or Japanese letters, push for the abolition of the party system using the People's Initiative. You can't nga abolish the party system without changing the Constitution because it's in the Constitution. Ulitin ko po it's in the Constitution. Magdrama man tayo, umiyak, magtarang, maglupasay, it's in the Constitution. Okay, yung mga nagsasabi, palitan na yung Constitution na yan, anong ginagawa ninyo? Diba? You're waiting for the president to be able to do that. He tried. He created a commission to change the Constitution. And then what? Ang daming nag-aaway. Kahit tayo, nag-aaway-away tayo about what to put into the into constitutional reform. All they have to do, all the status quo adherents need to do, all the people who are benefiting from this system, all they have to do is make us fight. So, make us fight. So, If you're going to espouse, halimbawa, federalism, pero inaaway mo lahat ng tao, paano tayo magiging united? All they have to do is make us fight each other. All of us pro-government, all of those yung mga tinatawag natin mga DDS. Pag tayo ang nag-away, wala talagang magiging pagbabago. And sinong mamamayagpag? Sila. Diba? Because they benefit from the status quo, from this particular system. You want to change the constitution, the first thing we have to do is stop fighting. Let's agree on certain changes that we have to make. Changes that we have to make now, right away. Cannot wait. If we get together on those few changes, hindi tayo mag-aaway. Ay nako, nakapag-elect nga tayo ng Rodrigo Duterte. Diba? So again, if you want change, we're going to have to stop fighting among ourselves. If you want people to be convinced of a particular post, huwag niyo silang insultuhin o awayin. Yun nga yung mali ng kabila. And that brings me to my last topic for the day. Yung kabila, ang ginagawa nila, iniinsulto tayo, binabash tayo and all that. Dumami ba yung kanilang followers by doing that? Hindi. All we have to do is stay united, stay together. Huwag tayong magpapaniwala dun sa pagbabash natin sa isa't isa. Let's not do that. Let's hang together and we can make huge changes. Diba? But that's how we won. That's how Rodrigo Duterte won because we agreed on this particular candidate at walang nagawa. Yung 30 years na in power, wala silang nagawa. Sabi natin, 0, 8 Inedoro. In 2019, shut out. Lahat ng mga kandidato ng kabilang pardor. If we can do that, we can change the law. Diba? So ako, I suggest we all start getting behind hybrid elections. If we can change something, Smartmatic out, hybrid elections. We have to know which congressmen are supporting Smartmatic, which, tingnan nyo, nag-iisa si Amy Marcos. I think it's time to show Amy Marcos some love here. She alone in the Senate is pushing for electoral reform. Come on guys, give it to Amy Marcos. She's the only one really working on this. And is she getting any support from her colleagues? I don't think so. But she's not the type to get angry at her colleagues for doing that. Okay? Sabi ni Maricar Rodriguez, I think Lenny is picking up your idea. Iba na narrative niya. Oh my God. Alam mo, we don't dismiss our critics. We also have to listen to them and see where we're making mistakes. So, the whole idea of the democratic conversation, of the national conversation, is so that we see where we're wrong. Even the president doesn't want us to make him a god, diba? Pag may mali daw siya, remember when we went to Malacanang, one of the things that he told us was, if I am wrong, you have to tell me. So we want to change Duque, we just have to keep telling the president, Mr. President, you're wrong about Duque. We love you dearly, we're not going to change our support for you, we still, it's Duterte forever pa rin. However, please, Mr. President, I think you're wrong on Secretary Duque. Okay. And how can we support Senator Amy Marcos? Well, we have to write to our congressmen. Sino bang congressman ninyo? Susulatan natin, and you can email our congressman and say, where is your counterpart bill to Amy Marcos's bill for electoral reform? No to Smartmatic. Yes to hybrid elections. Diba? And guys, don't forget, Amy is virtually alone in this. She's, let's show her some love, and let's give her some credit on our walls. Thank you, Amy Marcos. You're the only one batting for electoral reform right now. Diba? Can we all, do that and say this as often as we can? Madam Amy, yung hybrid elections, that's part of the electoral reform of Senator Marcos. Diba? Let's get behind Glenn Chong. Let's say that, I agree, hybrid elections. We need evidence. We can't rely on Smartmatic. Hindi na pwede ang Smartmatic. We don't want a stupid sock puppet sitting in another government office ever again. I'm not saying who that is. Sabi ni August Trinidad, nice thing to do is choose those makabayan block and junk them in 2022. What we have to do is, we should all agree on who our party list representatives are going to be. Ngayon, we can only vote for a single party list. So, if we all vote kasi for that particular party list, the small ones like the Makabayan Bloc will still get in. So, we make a list of who are the party lists that we agree with. Oh, I agree with Mocha. Di ba? Okay, for that out. Whatever party list Mocha was going to be in, particularly sa OFWs, I support OFWs, I will vote for that particular party list. I support the handicap if the representatives of any organization who wants to run for party list that is for the handicapped or for those for the differently abled, then I will vote for that. Let's just come up with a list. Sino ba yung mga gusto natin? Halimbawa, the two for accredited one, a lot of support, and their representative is hopefully working really, really hard for OFW concerns. So, yes, let's get to do that. But we won't know what the party list of accredited party lists are going to be until 2022. Pero let's keep that in mind. There's nothing we can do. Andyan ang party list system. The best we can do is beat the Makabayan Bloc by making sure they don't get elected again. And how do we do that? By choosing our party list very carefully. Wag nating iiwan nakablanko yung mga yan. Kasi paramihan yan eh. So, that's how we fight it. There's at least useless sabihin na tanggalin na yung party list system because we can't do that without a constitutional amendment. Yun, sabi ni Klaus Albarracin, let's do that, push for electoral reform, yes to hybrid elections. So let's all talk about it on our walls. I think that all of us, including yung kabilang parlor, they want fair elections. Well, if they don't want fair elections, di alam na natin. Di ba? Maybe they don't really want fair elections because otherwise, they're going to have to explain to us how one of their candidates won. Di ba? Okay. Sabi ni Andres Bonifacio, ma'am, hatiin natin. Example, 3 party list. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, vote each party. Pwede rin. We can identify, for instance, location. So, yung mga OFWs, pwede natin sabihin, pwede ba, ito yung mga OFW party lists that we agree on. So, itong mga to. This, and this. Okay. Tapos, yung mga nandito, o dito sa lugar, o kunwari, Quezon City, ang party list natin dapat ganito. Ganito. Yan. We can all agree. And then, or, kilatisin natin yung mga party lists. Titignan natin, sino ba ang mga representante dito sa mga tumatakbong mga party lists na ito. Kung kilala naman, representante siya ng partido na yon, representative siya ng mga interest ng party list na yan, and they have a track record for supporting the reforms of this administration, or, is a fair dude, yun, iboboto natin. Titignan natin, kikilatisin natin. What it comes down to is voter information and voter awareness. That's still how we're going to do this. Diba? Laban natin to kasi sa totoo lang, there's some people who are sitting in elected office who should not be there. Alam natin na yung mga tipong, how are you even a senator? Or how are you even a congressman? I don't know if there are 2 or 3 people within my own circle that would have voted for you. It's just ridiculous. Diba? Sabi ni Jojo, Joanna, let Senator Amy guest again sa Karambola. She's a guest host. She can come in anytime and she knows that. Whenever she needs to push something, she's always welcome sa Karambola. She doesn't even have to tell us. Walk in, Senator Amy, at iuupo ka namin. Ganun talaga yun. So, tignan na natin kung ano yung mga party lists na nag-organize ngayon pa lang. So, if any of you are organizing a particular party list and have shown a track record for supporting the reforms of this government, and sige, let's ipopost natin yung mga yan. Okay, dun sa mga nagtatanong paano kung yung mga bumoto abroad, mabibilang ba yung mga boto natin? That's why hybrid elections tayo. Sabi ni Ariel Malyari, yung kay Mocha, ang hirap kasi hanapin daw sa balota. Yes, may mga ganyan. Ang dami kasing party lists noon. So, nalagay sila sa likod. And yes, sinasabi ni Boss Jonathan, merong talagang mafia somewhere na nagde-decide niyan. I mean, supposedly, in theory, bunutan niya. Those aren't the rumors. Nag-alarm yung phone ko. Those aren't the rumors that are going around. Dun sa mga nagsasabi mag-organize ng karambola party list, pwede ba ang saya-saya namin sa karambola? Huwag naman kaming patakbuhin. We need to be free to be able to criticize our politicians or support them. If ever, you're going to need outside support when you're a politician. So, tayo na yon. We will support the good ones. Diba? Ako, I'd like to be positive, not COVID-wise, pero positive about these things. We are still capable of making great change. Para sa akin, as long as we have... Ang evidence natin is Rodrigo Duterte. None of the oligarchs wanted him, or very few. He was really supported by a huge mass base. Kitang-kita yan. Ebidensya talaga yan. And he is an idea whose time has come. There was no way he could be stopped. No amount of cheating would have been able to stop that. And we are the reason for that. We just want it. We're just sick of all of these politicians again. But what happened in 2019? Of course, na-shout out natin yung Inidoro, no? Yung mga nasa Inidoro. Pero locally, we still voted for people who are, meh. Siguro kulang din ang mga kandidato. Sabi ni Leandro Natayda, okay, connection mo ngayon. In fairness, dito sa bahay, okay. Pero sa Karambola, guys, seriously, Converge sucks rocks. Okay, ew. Tapos, ang globe namin dito, which I am not using right now, also sucks. Kakainis. Ew talaga. Ew, as in ew. I hope their water concession gets taken away from them. And I hope they, bawi yung prangkisa nila o yung permit nila to operate the telecoms. My goodness.
Also, wala tayong landline for some
And by the way, Globe, wala pa rin kaming landline hanggang ngayon dun sa Globe namin. Parang for display na lang yata yung unit. Tapos kumukuti-kutitap din yung signal. I think there should be a party list for fair internet usage. Diba? Kailangan may nagpo-push nito sa Kongreso. Sabi ni JC Leon, tama, maging choosy yung sa ACT party list. Parang wala namang naisulong para sa mga teachers. Anong papel nila sa Congress? Kaya mapapaisip ka na front lang sila for the NPA kasi andun lang sila para kumontra sa administrasyon. Di bali sana kumontra, sana din gumagawa sila ng hakbang para maiangat ang buhay ang mga taong nire-representa nila sa Kongreso. Well said. Okay, last two comments. Yes, ma'am. Sabi ni Carlito, nagtataka rin ako paano nanalo yung mga senador at congresswomen or men na nanalo. Hindi naman dapat. Smart magic talaga. And of course, every time I look at Lenny, I think, really? Sabi ni Vincent Ong, what will happen if the protest of BBM suddenly wins? Okay, what changes will happen? Well, he can take over by the way, in-increase ng budget ng Senado. Ini-increase nila yung budget ng Office of the Vice President. And seriously, Sani Angara, we love you dearly, pero my gosh. Ew. Sorry. It's better spent doing tax reform. So, Increasean ba naman 700 million para makabili daw ng kotse ang Office of the Vice President? Oh, please. Okay, ang dami naman hugpong na nakapasok sa Senado last 2019. Pero bakit parang hirap maipasa doon yung mga hinihiling na batas ng Pangulo? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Let's see kung there's enough. I don't think there's enough. Kailangan super majority din sila dun sa Senado para maipasa yung mga kailangan ni Pangulo. Ay. Sabi ni Ying, yan daw po weakness ng Converge, yung mga resibo at paperwork. Sila mahina. Sa serbisyo sila mahina. Seriously. Kailan po mapapalitan ng Smartmatic? Tinatanong ni Edward Lakilang. Malapit na po ang eleksyon. Mag-manual voting na lang po uli. Watching here from Canada. But it will still require a law kung mag-manual voting tayo, but not a change in the law for hybrid elections, although that is also what Senator Amy is pushing for. Anyari na dun sa Sitira bill, Sitira, yung tax reform, part 2, kabinbin sa Senado. Ang kakalampagin natin si Sani Angara, siya yung head ng committee. Sabi ni Texon, nabanggit lang si Lenny, pumutita agad ang internet. Okay, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa Luminous. Muntik nang maging tambayan. Sa Luminous, itong live natin ngayon. Maraming salamat na sinamahan ninyo ko. And I really value your insights. Thank you very much for commenting as well. Don't forget to like and share. And you don't need to ask permission to share anything from iWall. Basta share. Ang ayaw lang namin yung kina-copy-paste lang. So, kasi hindi nag-show yon dun sa share sa amin. And we need that to use the algorithm of Facebook so that mas maraming nakakakita dun sa mga posts natin. Of course, you can copy and paste if you're going to put it on Twitter. Pero meron ding toggle in some apps of Facebook, in some like dun sa iPad ko, pwede mong i-share straight to Twitter ang mga Facebook posts namin dito. So, please do that if you're capable of doing that. Maraming salamat. All intelligent conversation here is duly appreciated, and all the good and valid questions are always welcome here on Luminous. Maraming salamat. We'll do live more often. Namimiss ko kayo sa ganito. See you again. Well, see you tomorrow. May karambola tayo. Bye! Like and share, ha? Siyempre, ang hirap patay.